Welcome, everyone. I think we may have a few more people joining, but we'll get started. My name is Erin Sullivan. I'm the College Aspects and Success Coordinator at the Bridge College and Careers program at LaGuardia. We have with us today 8 students from a few programs. We have our Bridge students joining us, CLIP students, and I believe also CUNY START and CUNY Fatherhood Academy. So I'm grateful to see so many people calling in. The purpose of this panel is to give our students a chance to learn some more about career opportunities within the STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And we have a variety of careers represented here today in technology, healthcare, and business services. I want to thank our panelists for volunteering their morning to be with us today. It's a really valuable experience for all of us to hear directly from you. Just a note about our agenda. We're going to take 10 or 15 minutes for introductions from our panelists. Then we'll move into questions. So I've collected questions from our students over the past few days, and I've done my best to combine those so that we address everything that the students want to know about. So we're going to move through those questions together. I'm going to try to reserve about 15 minutes at the end of the panel for the audience to ask additional questions if there's something that we didn't cover. So I think that we'll start with introductions. We have with us, I think, 4 of our 5 panelists here right now. Another, Kellie, will be joining us around 11. So panelists, if you could please just tell us your name, your job title, and what it means, so what your work looks like on a day-to-day basis, and also briefly tell us about the path that you took to the role you have today. So how did you get where you are? You don't have to share every single detail, but give us an idea of what your career path has looked like up to this point. Anybody feel like they want to go first?
I can go first. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yes. So thanks everyone for joining us this morning. So my name is Caridad Muñoz. So I'm a creative technology for LaGuardia Community College, and I'm a CUNY product, kind of like very proud of being part of the CUNY system. So I graduated from LaGuardia Community College with a computer science degree in computer programming. So that's my background. And I went into combining communications and design. So creating a whole range of different technology initiative for the college, like web design, being a webmaster, creating graphics for the university. And I move on into working for the communication department after my early years of being a programmer and an IT person. Then I move into marketing and communication. I have my master in science from CUNY as well. I combine again a lot of the digital marketing information into my background with technology. So for the past few years, I been working for different programs. Like I started working as a programming and web design for the school, then moving on to marketing. And prior to LaGuardia, I did my internship as a programming assistant in the telecommunication area. That was one of my highlights of the career when I had like experience to go out in the field and work with different technologies in the area. Also, I got the opportunity to work with Long Island City Business Development Corporation, where I was like the database and backend developer when the company started in Long Island City. So that was something that helped me also start with a technology background. I'm very happy and proud of what I do. So I have a team right now of 10, and my team is a group of web developers, digital designer, photographer, videographers, and we all in charge of like creating the day-to-day communication that goes out to the students at LaGuardia, the communications, the system that you see on the web, and everything that you see digital on the school website is all me and my team. So feel proud to ask me any question about anything that you want. I'm also a faculty, so I've been teaching for LaGuardia for the past 7 years, and I've been teaching web development, video game design, how do you create application and video game, and also e-commerce technology. One of the highlights of the e-commerce class is that students get to create their own business and create application either for mobile or desktop based. So they create like their own system or their own startup from the beginning all the way to the end. So again, if you want to learn more about that, ask me a question about game design and e-commerce technology. So that's a little bit about me and my background. My parents are immigrants, so I came to the country not knowing any English at all. So I have to learn the system. And one of the things that was really helpful for me was like supporting family and also having a network at the school that were able to help me, with supports and resources to continue my career. So that's a little bit about me.
Great. Thank you so much, Caridad.
Yes.
Let's move on to another of our panelists. Christine, are you still with us? Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Of course, be happy to. I'm Christine. I'm director of pre-hospital care programs, which means emergency medical technician and paramedic. And I also manage the clinical medical assistant program as well. So it's clinical healthcare that I do. And I won't get into my whole life story because I'm old and that would take too long. So I'll just say that I worked as an EMT for New York City EMS in Times Square area of Manhattan for many years. And then I became a paramedic. I do have my bachelor's degree in what you would consider a social work. I worked as a paramedic in both Brooklyn and Manhattan. I became an instructor at LaGuardia and then the coordinator of the EMT program and then the director. So I've been here quite a while. And what I'm doing right now is helping to transition our programs to do online work and also to make sure that when our students come back to campus to do skills, because a lot of our work in these classes is hands-on skills. You can't learn how to draw blood as a phlebotomist if you don't actually practice it. You can't actually do that online. And if you want to practice how to remove a person from a car the proper way, you're going to have to do that in the classroom. So we are making plans on how our students will come back to campus safely and do the skills they need to do in a safe way. So I'm spending a lot of time on that right now. And there's, grants that we are getting to help students because these courses are a lot of money. And what we like to do is try to get as much help for students as we can to defray costs. So we are looking all over to try to bring in funds to help students defray some of those expenses that are sometimes an obstacle to people participating. So those are some of the things that I do as director. But I want to say that I want to congratulate each and every one of you that are here, because you're here because you took the positive step to move forward in your lives. Whatever program you're in, whether it's Bridge or another program, you decided you know what? I am going to find a way to do something for myself and my family. And then you came to this presentation to take another step ahead for yourself, whether it be a degree program or a certificate program like we have. And I want to congratulate you. I want to say to you, bravo. Okay? Bravo to you. Because there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people who sit back, you know, and they just take things as they come along. So I just wanted to send that message. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And I definitely echo that for everybody joining us today. We have another panelist joining us today who also works in the healthcare field. Varvara, were you able to reconnect?
I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Great. Would you be able to share a little bit about yourself and your path?
Absolutely. So I'm just like Caridad, I'm a proud LaGuardia graduate. I graduated from LaGuardia Community College from a nursing program. And the nursing program is very competitive. So if you get in and if you go through, that's quite an accomplishment. So I graduated with an associate's degree, and I went on to get my bachelor's degree from Hunter College, CUNY as well. And currently I am working on my master's degree in CUNY SPS, which is an online, but it's not really hands-on. It's a nursing education. So with nursing education, you don't really need to be physically present. Nurses right now are considered to be heroes because they go through a lot considering COVID and everything. So it's a lot of work, a lot of overtime, a lot of stress. A lot of my colleagues are having a lot of mixed feelings about it. They want to help and they can't help. A lot of them held hands of patients as they died in the hospital bed. So it takes toll on you if you're a nurse. So you need to be in for that. You need to have compassion. You need to like your job. In regards to education, so right now we are working on candidacy acceptance to the nursing program. And just like Christine mentioned, it's not as easy because nursing program is a lot of hands-on skills. So you do need to learn how to change dressings. You need to know how to insert a catheter. Not all of this can be done online. And as someone who works in the lab, I work in the nursing lab. So as someone who works in the lab, we're trying also to find a safe way to return on campus so our students can come in and practice hands-on skills. So that's the story.
Great. Thank you so much, Varvara. And then we also have with us Paisley Demby. Paisley, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Great. Could you tell us about yourself, please?
Sure. So my current role at LaGuardia Community College is I serve as the Business Services Director for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program, which is a training and coaching program geared towards small businesses that make essentially a little bit more than 150,000 and have no less than 4 employees. So my role is I oversee the business advisors that work directly with the businesses, providing them with one-on-one coaching and counseling. And I'm also responsible for outreach and recruitment. So I attend several trade shows, small business expos, conferences, and the like, where I speak and essentially market and promote the program. Career-wise, in undergrad, I majored in economics and computer engineering. And from undergrad, I went straight to Wall Street, developing foreign exchange trading systems for JP Morgan. After 5 years of doing that, went to grad school to get my MBA from the University of Pennsylvania in finance and strategic management. And out of the Wharton School, went to work for Accenture doing international strategy for investment banks as it relates to mergers and acquisitions. And it was interesting because when I was working there, some friends of mine that were in my graduate class kept calling me up about a venture that they were working on, a business called paymybills.com. And I asked them, I said, why are you calling me, for advice when you have so many other folks in the entrepreneurial field? And their response to me was that you give us the best advice. It was sort of having, that light bulb moment after graduating. So I started a consulting company and focused on business planning and raising capital. And from there went into working with small business development programs with the Queens Economic Development Corporation, as well as Canada Economic Development Corporation, developing small business development training programs. I'm the co-founder for the Queens Business Plan Competition. So if any of you don't know about the Queens Business Plan Competition, if you have an idea and would like to win, I think it's $15,000 is the first prize, go to the website queensny.org or just simply Google Queens Startup Business Plan Competition. And I'm also the co-founder for the New York Startup Business Plan Competition. So if you live in the Bronx, Manhattan, or Staten Island, there's an opportunity for you too to win $15,000 for a startup business idea. And that's it.
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We have another panelist who just joined us, Kellie. Kellie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Erin. Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you great. So can you tell us what we just started doing introductions. So if you could tell us please about your current role and what you do on a day-to-day basis, and also a little bit about the path that you took to get to where you are today, not in all the details, but an overview.
Okay. So currently right now, well, hi, my name is Kellie, of course, and I am a UX designer and a full stack web developer, currently focusing on front-end development. I started out in CUNY back in 2013, and I got my associates in graphic design and illustration at Kingsborough Community College. Went straight from there to City Tech and graduated with my bachelor's in communication design with a focus in web design. And once I did that, I participated in 2 programs after. That was Tech Hire Open Code that is currently at LaGuardia right now. I was their 3rd cohort for their full stack web development bootcamp, partnered with Software Guild. And I also did CUNY TechWorks UX Design Bootcamp. And I was their 1st cohort, which was pretty interesting. And I did their UX design program, and that's currently located at Kingsborough and also at City Tech. How I got into my role, really, I spent a lot of my undergraduate time freelancing and trying to get work in projects that I could work on, especially in the design field. It's pretty difficult to get any entry level field. So a lot of your first couple of years of working, you're doing a lot of project-based work. I decided to take the 2 boot camps to focus on some skills that I didn't really have or focus on a lot during my associate's degree and early on in my bachelor's degree. And I spent about maybe 6 months after both programs and got my first job at a publishing company as a UX designer. And I was also hired at CUNY TechWorks as their front-end development instructor for incoming UX designers. So I currently still do both right now.
Great, thanks so much, Kellie. I want to talk a little bit more now about the education that you have, your backgrounds before starting working life, or maybe training that you were doing while working. We have students here with us, as you know, who are about to enter college, who are considering the major that they're going to choose, the educational path that they're going to take. So my next question for our panelists is, how did your college experience or your training experience prepare the work that you're doing today? What were the most valuable parts of the learning experience for you, and what did you take with you when you left school? I'll leave it open to anybody who has a thought and wants to share first.
I guess I can share first, since I am officially 2 years out of school, so I can share The most valuable thing I took from school is not being afraid to venture into something that was unknown. I went into college wanting to do traditional art, and I have a very strong background in drawing, illustration. My associate's degree is in focus in illustration and pretty much print design. And I did that for a while. I dabbled in some screen printing and some apparel design too in high school. And every next moment or every next step that I took from my associates to my undergrad, even going to my master's program now, I always wasn't afraid or I didn't fear venturing into the unknown. So for my undergraduate program, I really was focused in communication design, and there were 5 different modules. The only one that I didn't really know anything about was web design. So I took that as my minor, and it was just like, okay, we'll figure it out as we go. And it was a very big struggle for me. It was learning how to do digital design, which I wasn't familiar with, as well as learning how to do programming and front end development, which I had no idea what I was doing. And it taught me that sometimes you have to persevere through struggle in order to find something that you really love. And through that, I found that I love coding and I love doing digital design. And I figured out that UX design is really kind of where I get to put both design and development together. And I was able to find a job, and I was also able to get a position where I actually lead design ops, which is a very fancy word to say I help the designers and the developers on both sides. So I work on a project where I'm able to help everyone doing something that if you had asked me about 6 years ago, is that something I want to do? I probably would have told you I have no idea what that is. So don't be afraid to venture out into the unknown. You might figure out what it is that you actually out. So it's my advice.
Great advice. Thank you.
Okay. And I have kind of like similar experience as Kellie. I think we have the same path of programming career, Kellie, because I started as a backend developer, and again, more like into programming. Then I switched into more front-end developer, digital marketing, and design later on in my career. So one of the things that my advice is like, don't be afraid of changes. Don't be afraid of embracing, like, when I started a couple of years ago, I would say it over 10 years ago, when I started as a programming, I was the only female working at MoMA in the telecommunication department. So it was very unique in the experience that I went through to see that I was the only programmer female in the entire department. Everybody else was male, and it was very, database driven. Everybody was very concentrated on what they were doing. And at the same time, I said, is this where I see myself in the future, or if things will change? And then I said, I wanted to experience, how to create and how to do more things that are more digital. And then when I went to my bachelor degree, then I combined the programming, digital, and front-end design, so I can learn and be in a group that it was a little bit more diverse. But one of the things I learned when I started teaching, because when I started teaching game design, again, there were no female in the class. It was a group of male students, and the entire class was 18 male. Like, we gotta change this. We have to provide some change and some initiative so we can get more females and more women in technology. So I started creating a campaign, working with different programs in the college, and like, how can we change this? How do we advertise the programming, the game design is for all gender, and that we need to get more female into tech. So then by the time I teach the game design class for the 4th time, I think we started having half and half in the class. So it was great to see that initiative, like, don't be afraid of change, and also creating a change for others to be part of the field, and integrating what you see, in technology nowadays. So
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, I can also add, if that's okay. So yes, absolutely. I agree with Kellie and Caridad. Definitely, there are changes. So nursing program here prepares you for the basics. You're just kind of ready to go take your license test, take the boards, and go straight to work. You learn a little bit of everything in nursing, but not really something very focused or very specifics. You need to go further and get advance your education, get your bachelor's degree, get your master's degree. So, and then as you progress, yes, it's true, you can actually change what you're interested in. I personally am interested in education, so I want to continue working at LaGuardia and teach other nursing students. Some of you might later be interested in working with children, right? You can or you want to work in mental health. So nursing is very diverse. You can work in public health, public and community health. Um, but our program prepares you to go and get a job right away. It's an associate's degree, and you take this exactly same test as those nurses or those nursing students who goes for bachelor's degree. You just take a little bit less classes that are needed to graduate with bachelor's degree. Um, what I learned is, I was an international student. I was an international student, an immigrant. So for me, it was very hard with money. And then as a woman, I got married. I started having children. So I have 3 children, and you need to take care of all of them. And they go to school. So it's not as easy to go to school and have all these other responsibilities. So I learned what helped for me is that get to a checkpoint. You work very hard to get your associate's degree, you get it. Then if you want, you can take a break, you can work, you can focus on other things, and then you move on. You get another 2 years, you earn your bachelor's degree. Again, you take a break if you need to, and then you move on. And don't make it a one big journey that sounds like something that you can't really accomplish. Just take your one step at a time, and you can actually reach there. You can get there. It might be slower, but it works. It worked for me.
Another great piece of advice. Thank you. Anybody else like to share something about your educational experiences?
I would just like to piggyback off what was just said. When you enter into emergency medical services, there is this ability to take a short-term 5-month certificate course as an EMT. And as an EMT basic, going out on the ambulance and working, you can see if this is the profession that is for you. So I loved it. I loved working on the ambulance in Midtown Manhattan. It was fabulous for me. So then I went for the advanced level training as a paramedic, and you can do that and get your associate's degree. But you have a chance to see whether it's for you. And I think that all of the panelists would agree with me that it's important that you choose a career that fits your personality and that fits your aptitudes and something that is for you. Now, if you're the type of person who, if you see a drop of blood, you start to become faint, maybe nursing and EMT is not for you. I mean, my brother was like that. He saw blood and or a needle, and all of a sudden, he started turning pale. Well, then maybe this is not for you. And maybe there's something else that's better for you. If you don't want to drive an ambulance in the city traffic, maybe EMS is not for you, but maybe medical assistant would work for you. Medical assistants don't have to drive. They like to help people. Okay. And so you have to pick what suits your personality, your interests. And what are these panelists here are all presenting are people who have had interest in really different things, and that's great to have choices. right now you're at that moment where you have choices, and you have to see, kind of look carefully at, well, what type of personality goes into nursing, finance, tech, design, which might have more artistic components to it, And so, EMS, for example, you have to be able to lift and carry people, drive a truck in traffic. You have to be able to deal with seeing things that are not, seeing and smelling things that are not always nice. But you have a lot of independence in your work. But so you have to see. So how that all works for you. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll chime in now. I'm originally from Baltimore, and in growing up in Baltimore, my mother didn't go to college. She had a high school diploma. So going to college was not a conversation that was in the home. And it wasn't until I started making good grades in college or in high school that the college conversation began. And my track coach just so happened to have a relationship with Brown University. He made an introduction. And when I got to Brown, my mother put me on a plane and she said, do the best that you can. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned in college was that sometimes you just got to figure things out on your own, which is a lot like life. And because my counselor in high school said that I was good in math and science, he recommended that I study electrical engineering. I didn't know that electrical engineering was the hardest major on campus. In addition to studying electrical engineering, I was also had to work. I was on work study and also ran track, so which meant that after practice, I was exhausted. And it wasn't until I did a summer internship at IBM that individuals that worked at IBM gave me feedback, and they said, we understand that you're an electrical engineer, but you have a personality, and have you ever considered business as a major? So when I got back to campus, after not doing so hot in 2 classes, one was electromagnetics, and the other one was hydrodynamics. Those classes, truly for the engineer. Once I realized that those classes were not working out for me, I incorporated business classes, economics, and the like, and needless to say, they added much improvement to my GPA. And so that's how I got to double major, and that's how I got to position myself to work on Wall Street in a technical field, but also dealing with business. So big takeaways is talk to individuals that are working in the career that you may have an interest in. That's number one. Another big takeaway from undergrad was it's not so much about what you know as it is who you know. When I was in undergrad, I became the homework broker. I would go around with all the other engineers and say, hey, let's work together to get our homework done, because they gave us just impossible homework, and that saved us a tremendous amount of time. The third thing that I would say is when it comes to your career, think about the lifestyle that you want to live. Sit down and do a budget. Where do you want to live? What type of car you want to drive? All your expenses, and then figure out what your lifestyle budget is, and then go to a website called salary.com to determine what types of careers that you have an interest in actually match up with the lifestyle that you want to live. It's amazing to me that people don't do this exercise. But again, create your lifestyle budget and then go on salary.com and look at your career interests to see what salaries you're going to be making in those fields, and talk to individuals in those fields. Ask them questions like, what do you love about what you do? What do you think are the essential skills to be successful? And what do you not like so much about your career?
Great. Thank you all so much for some really powerful insights and advice for all our students. The next topic I want to move into has to do with challenges. We've already touched on challenges that you all faced moving through early stages of your career and through your education. We'd like to know what you find demanding or challenging about your current work, or perhaps what you see your colleagues being challenged by. You're part of a professional community, of course. So what are some of those big challenges in the type of work that you do? And also, what strategies do you see as useful for overcoming those challenges?
Well, I'm going to most likely be stating the obvious here, as my colleague from nursing has already alluded to. We are in a nationwide state of emergency in which all people in healthcare are facing challenges of fear of infection for themselves and their loved ones, and dealing with the loss of life and uh, um, extended numbers of people who are affected by this virus. So the challenge, of course, is, and my colleagues have met this challenge here in New York, to protect themselves using appropriate PPE and methods to protect themselves. But that challenge has come at a cost to them of, a certain amount of anxiety to when we were the epicenter here in New York, of having to don all that gear and to meet the challenge of taking care of those patients, and also of seeing so many people not being able to survive or being very ill. And so even before the virus, anyone in healthcare will tell you that you're dealing with people who are sick and injured, and you see things that other people don't see, and you see it at times 100. So you may have seen somebody in an accident or somebody be ill or whatever, but we see it maybe times 1,000. Okay, so you mentally, and emotionally, it's a challenging career to be a healthcare worker. Okay, and so there's all kinds of things that people need to be aware of in order to meet that challenge, as far as their lifestyles, as far as getting help. But it is a challenge, because helping people who are sick and injured wears on people. Okay, and if you're a nurse dealing with the pediatric cancer ward, I couldn't do it. I'm going to tell you right now, I could not do that. I've been an EMT and a paramedic for over 30 years, but I could never be a nurse in a pediatric cancer ward. I couldn't do it, right? So I'm just saying, you have to be of a certain type to be able to manage whatever. Now, you could be a nurse, a school nurse, and it's not the same thing. You could choose another thing to do, right? So it's not that it's going to be that way, but none of my colleagues knew when they started in EMS that they were going to face being in the epicenter of COVID, and they rose to that challenge. God bless them all. God bless them all. So I think that's the difficulty when you're in healthcare, that you need to have that compassion and that willingness to be there for people who are hurting. So that's it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I would just want to add, absolutely, Christine got it all right. You have to be, the things that you see, the things that you work with vulnerable population, people who are needy, who are sick, who need you, who need your help. So it's difficult. You do have to have a personality, compassionate personality. And definitely with COVID, we lost a lot of colleagues. We lost a lot of we lost some graduates that we knew with, because this is something that you're dealing with, and the science is just finding out how it's getting transmitted, what's going on, how to test. So you learn as you go, and it can be quite scary. We had instances when nurses got injured because of violent patients, and we had nurses who got injured because of they were caring or transporting patients and they hurt their backs, and that's something that sometimes becomes a permanent injury. And Christine, as an EMT, she probably knows you do need to learn all the body mechanics and everything in order to be able to handle patients. So yes, absolutely, I would just like to add and agree that it's quite challenging to be in the healthcare.
Thank you.
I also want to add that, especially for us, that we were all dealing with communication and all the digital resources for the entire college, for LaGuardia Community College. So for the past 4 months, it's been very challenging for the entire, not only because we have to like be the back end of communicating to, around 10,000 students, like what to do, and also the staff and faculty, and all the whole transition to be online for the entire university. But it was our team in the marketing and communication department, and also web development, where I managed the entire team. We all had kind of like always been very digital, very well connected remotely and everything, but we were not prepared to the emotional roller coaster. We were not prepared to be like, facing, family loss, a lot of things that happen to the entire team. So this is some of the challenge that sometimes you're not prepared for it. So keeping each other, support and working doing video conference, keeping everybody always online, was kind of like continuing the same present that we have, the same feeling in the office, by supporting each other. But we encountered less working hours. Sometimes we were working at 10, 11 at night because the communication from the main university was coming after 6 p.m. or working on a weekend. So we were very open and free to work because we knew this was challenging time. We knew this was difficult, and no one was prepared. And being the communication team and the technology team, we needed to be in the front. We needed to be part of the whole change. So those were some of the things that we have to kind of like face when there's a situation. We face it, and we're still supporting each other. And again, as Christine and Varvara mentioned, it's a roller coaster, and we all have the support from everybody, especially during this difficult time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Working in the business field, one of the challenges that I have marketing and promoting our program is that business owners in New York City tend to be skeptical, and they're always asking, what's the catch? And the reason that they ask what the catch is because once they hear about our program and they hear that it's free of charge, namely because the Goldman Sachs Foundation has completely underwritten the program, they're highly skeptical. And getting them to a place of understanding that, hey, this free source is available to you free of charge, and it is of quality. That's one challenge that we have. Another challenge that we have in working with business owners, it's very difficult to separate the business from their personal lives. We're in the process of reaching out to over 1,200 business owners that have gone through our program within the tri-state, and we're hearing, some very challenging stories about how many of them had to close down their business. They weren't able to keep their employees. They had to let employees go. Many of them have just experienced a lot of financial hardship. And so it's a challenge to hear story after story after story, and to remain encouraging and supportive and positive. But in the business world, we have to deal not only with the business aspect, but also with the social and emotional aspect. And there's tons of programs that can assist in those areas. And we oftentimes are referring our clients to resources where they can actually speak to someone. The city offers counseling lines free of charge.
Great, thank you. Kellie, I want to give you a shot if you have anything to add about challenges in your field.
Sure. Pretty much similar to everyone. I think the job of a UX designer is, for the most part, you have a lot of different pieces of the product that you have to touch on as far as research, design, and prototyping and iterating a project. So I think in general, if you don't like a lot of work, this isn't what you would like to do, or development. If you don't like doing a lot of code, that isn't what you're going to like to do. And for me personally, these are things that I love to do. It has been challenging the past couple of months, especially doing all this to the backdrop of pandemic. We work specifically with digital education products. So our services specifically go into high schools and higher education programs, and it's been something that myself and my coworkers and my colleagues have had to transition into, knowing that our positions have to change kind of overnight. Similar to what Caridad said, we were working all throughout the night sometimes. We went on being on maybe 1 or 2 projects to everyone having a minimum of 2 projects now, no one having less than 2, having 3 projects at a time. For me specifically, I've been at my job for about a year and 6 months, and I went from being on a project with another coworker to being now a design lead. And I lead my project, and I lead my project's design, and that was nerve wracking. This project, the release date was pushed up. Instead of October, it's going to come out in August now because we need to get more instructors on. We were expecting maybe a couple of thousand, and now they said that we're looking at 50,000. So looking at maintaining structures and building designs that are for more people, because we have more people who are going to be active and actively participating online, and trying to do your job and do your job well to the backdrop of knowing that there's something going on out there that's affecting people, and affecting their ability to function and live in society. It's not just affecting their livelihoods, quote unquote, but it's affecting, are they able to get a job? Are they able to go to work? Are they able to maintain their household? And, we've had help desk requests that turned into, conversations about students really not knowing where to turn. So it's one of those things where it feels like there's more work that's coming on, and it may not be like, oh, there's more projects. It's just the weight of what you're actually doing. So keep in mind that that's just life, and sometimes life, you have to deal with things that you're not prepared for, and that's one of the difficulties that we face, I think, in this industry. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that, all of you, very much. I think it's really important for us to hear about the very real challenges that we're facing, both in general and especially during the past few months, and how we have to deal with those. I think we'd also like to hear about, kind of on the positive side, some of the highlights for you, for people who might be considering a career in any of these fields. What's something that you would say that you really love and enjoy, and that is something that maybe motivates you to continue doing the work that you do, even when things are really tough?
Yeah, I'll start. Working with entrepreneurs, individuals thinking about starting a business, and working with existing business owners, oftentimes they have blocks. And what I mean by blocks is every one of us, we have quote unquote the chatter that goes on in our heads and oftentimes tells us what we can't do or what's not achievable. And one thing that's really rewarding is that when I'm working with a startup and they're able to identify a business opportunity that they believe that they can take full advantage of, and being able to provide them with the tools, the skills, and the resources to actually start that business and to change their lives, yeah, it's very rewarding. And working with existing business owners, helping them to move beyond those blocks and barriers and challenges that they have within their businesses so that they can create jobs, so that they can affect their communities, and they can also affect the economics of their families. It's a really great feeling to be able to give to others in that respect. And some of you may be interested in starting your own business. And if that's the case, we have tons of resources at LaGuardia. Feel free to come up to the 7th floor once we're all back. Our office, when you get off the elevator, just turn right and walk straight. and feel free to drop in at any time. So it's very rewarding to be able to help people to move beyond barriers and to create new goals and new aspirations in their lives and to give them the confidence to move forward.
Great, thank you.
Very rewarding.
I would like to, jump in regarding healthcare. Right now we're only representing EMT, paramedic, medical assistant, and nursing, but of course at LaGuardia, there's other healthcare fields that are available to you, from radiology to physical therapy assistant and others here. And of course in healthcare, why people are attracted to it is because you get a satisfaction of knowing that you're helping someone, at the same time that you are creating a career path for yourself, a long-term career path, which can bring you financial reward. Now, for EMT, of course, people use it as an entryway into the New York City Fire Department, which is the largest employer of EMTs in New York City, and is a civil service opportunity, which also can give you an entryway into becoming a firefighter for those of you who are interested in that. But there's many healthcare careers available to you at LaGuardia, and they all have different opportunities depending on your personality and what you're interested in. I mean, a physical therapy person and a nursing person and an EMT person all do different things. So whatever your interest is, it gives you that opportunity to help someone. And I have had people come into our program who have left finance, who have left Wall Street, who have left careers in other, I even had a person who was in cameraman for NBC who came to us and became a paramedic because they wanted a career that they felt really meant something for them in their lives. So, as you know, money is not always the driver of choosing a career, and you have to do something in your life that will mean something to you and that works for you. So saving a life, delivering a baby, bringing somebody back who was in cardiac arrest, and doing some of these things, and of course nursing is a parallel, or just being there for somebody's worst moment, are precious things, and they're very important for some. So this is why. And I love my job. I loved my job as an EMT and as a paramedic. I loved every minute of it. I loved helping people become an EMT and a paramedic. I love medicine. And, if you love it, then come. If you love working with businesses, do it. If you love working with programming and web design, do it. Do what you love. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Christine.
I think for me, one of the best reward of my career was that I was able to teach. And by teaching, it's like I feel like I'm giving back all the knowledge and everything that I have acquired throughout my entire career. So I love teaching, and I love seeing how it impacts the student when they come to the first class or when they have the first semester at LaGuardia, and then seeing their life as they develop going into getting their bachelor degree and coming back and asking for an internship or sending me a note and saying, I got a full-time job at this company, and keeping that connection. It's very rewarding to see that. And one of the best experience I had, it was one of my students on the web development class. and he went into creating his own startup, and he went through the CUNY startup program. He partnered with other CUNY students, and then it was great to see that throughout the entire process, he keep like sending me notes like, here's what I'm doing, here's what I got. We got the award for the startup. And now he's working at Google. And it's like to see the entire reward, like how can you change a student life from the beginning they start the semester into the entire career, and seeing that progress is very rewarding for me. It's just not like teaching a course, it's changing their life or others that are coming to the school. Not only as a professor, but also what we do in the communication department, because we start like from getting prospective students from the beginning, they don't even know what is LaGuardia Community College, and then getting them into the entire journey of like, here's your life, here's how you can prepare to have a career in college. So for me, I love what I do. It's my passion. I'm like all into technology, new trends every day, and just keep that going. Keeps me every day motivated, and seeing the student when they graduate, when they go into the stage, well, past graduation, not this year, but to see them rejoice in their family, that's very amazing to see that.
Thank you.
I would have to agree with both Caridad and then something Christine said. I consider myself to be a glorified pixel pusher, which is somebody who likes to design and code. And I enjoy every moment of what I do. I understand it's a lot of hard work, and I tell my students all the time, like, it's a lot of hard work, you know. There's this idea that you can jump into any of the high-paying fields in the tech industry, and like the UX design or the software engineer or data analyst, whichever one, and you can make a lot of money, and that's great. And it's like, yeah, these people make a lot of money, but they make a lot of money for a reason. It's a lot of work. So back to what Christine said, like if you don't like what you're doing, no matter how much money you make, it's not sustainable. Like it's not something you'll be able to do for a long period of time. I don't care what the dollar amount is. I've had students that I've taught who've come from Ivy League schools, Harvard and Yale, Dartmouth, who've been in business, who've been in finance, who've been in the science fields. And they told me, like, I've done it for so long, and I did it because I thought I was supposed to do it, and I just didn't realize I didn't know what I was doing. I think it's very important that you find that passion that you go after. And yes, we all do need to make money, so I'm not saying that it isn't important. It's just not the most important thing. As far as the most rewarding thing for me personally in my profession and my career, I would have to say that learning that I like to teach is one thing, even though I don't see how I miss that, being that my mom's a teacher, my sister's a teacher, two of my best friends are a teacher. So I after I started teaching, I was like, oh, this makes sense. And I find the most rewarding thing in my full-time job and my professional job outside of teaching being able to communicate with everyone on my team, being able to know where my design team is coming from, being able to know where my developers are coming from, being able to explain something to my product owner and have him agree on it, and being able to be kind of that voice of communication, which is the basis of what I was doing with design. So I really enjoy that part of what I do.
Great, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody said that. So what I like about and why I went for nursing education, because I love working with students. It's true. You see them and then they don't know where they are, what to do. They're scared of everything. And then you see them graduate, and it's such a pleasant feeling when you see them graduate and they're happy, their family there for them. We have a lot of students who are immigrants coming from other countries, and it's such an accomplishment to go through such a hard program and graduate, and then they go on and then they become nurses. And very often we have students come and visit and tell us about their accomplishments, how they went on and they got other degrees and what jobs they got and how they changed different jobs and tried different types of nursing. And what they found. And also, I think for specifically for nursing education, it's very different from bedside nursing. There's a lot of things that I learned as I am in my master's degree. I learn a lot. I learn a lot how you support students. I learn all this little specific how you can help them, and it's very important. And this is what I like about it.
Thank you. So I'm going to move into my final question for our panel because we have about half an hour left together. So everybody listening in the audience, keep in mind that we're going to save about 15 minutes at the end for additional questions. If there's something we haven't covered and a question you have for a particular panelist, please think about it, write it down if you need to, and we'll have a little bit of time for that at the end. So the last thing I'd like to address, I know that we touched on a little bit of this throughout our whole discussion today, which is great. But for people, say, who have made the decision to pursue an education in a particular field, who are looking to get a job, maybe for the first time in the field that you work in, any last thoughts about some advice that you would give job seekers in your professional field at this time? And go ahead.
That's okay. I would start. Actually, that's something that Caridad mentioned in the beginning. A lot of it is networking. A lot of it is knowing people or getting to know people. And don't be afraid to go and go to all the career panels or go and meet people. Come and introduce yourselves. When you are at some kind of educational orientation or you're attending a class that you very much like, come during the break, come over, introduce yourself, say who you are, say what you're interested in, let people know what you want to do, and let them know your face, let them know your name, and it might help. So I think networking is very important. Another thing is I would say try to get as much knowledge as you can. So it doesn't have to be a degree. It could be a workshop. Just come and learn something that you don't know about. And it often helps to just have something extra on your resume that's not just a traditional, just the degree. You attend a bunch of workshops and you have an additional knowledge. I think that's something that helps.
I have a story to go with that. So real life example for you guys who don't believe that networking is everything. I started at the Tech Hire Open Code program, I think October 2017. And one of our first required assignments was to go out to any tech event, anything about hackathons or tech related. And I did. I went to this Progressive Happy Nights event, and I started talking to people there. And I didn't expect anything of it. I just went early, communicated with people, worked on one project with a professor from Queens College, and from there, just made a few connections and kept going. I graduated from that program and my UX design program at the same time in June. And I started looking for jobs immediately after I graduated because I needed to find a job in my career. I was applying and sending out resumes and going on interviews. And one of my final interviews, I did this group interview with this design team and the design manager. And I'm going through the interview and I'm talking to the people. And there's this one girl there, this one lady there who I recognize. I know her. I just don't really remember where I know her from. So I just go through the interview, whatever. And I finally at the end tell everyone, I'm like, okay, it was really nice talking to you. But you so-and-so, I feel like I know you from like an event or something. It happened that it was actually one of the organizers at this tech event that I went to a year ago who was sitting in the interview room with me. Her name's Annie. And this was the interview for the job that I have now. So this was my first interview. I got 2 more interviews after that. And then I actually got to work with Amy as my design lead. And now we're actually really close friends. And it was one of those moments where I wouldn't have had that connection with her had I not gone to the event and made that even though I didn't know what I was doing, I had no idea what I was, I didn't know what was going on. Just going out there, talking to people and being able to say like, oh, you know, I'm a student, I'm doing this, and the third. A year later, it actually helped me get in the door to get my job. So it is important. So make sure that you network and make sure that you're out there. You're just talking about who you are as a person. You are constantly learning, and everyone has the ability to learn skills. But what's most important is who you are as a person, your story, your background, everything that's unique about you, and the skills that you've learned and why you've learned them. And that'll help you stand out to be able to get the career moving forward.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah, I second the emotion of Varvara and Kellie in regard to networking. There's a saying that your network is your net worth. In addition, information interviews, identify individuals that work in the field that you have an interest in, and you can search on LinkedIn based on the title of a person and get their contact information, or at least the name of the company that they work for, and call them up on the phone, let them know that you are a student at LaGuardia and you have an interest in whatever field that you have an interest in, and you'd like to know if you could conduct a information interview. And if you don't know how to do an information interview, simply Google how to conduct an information interview, because you can learn a host of information about a particular career that you have an interest in. And at the same time, you can develop a contact within the industry. You can also ask that same individual or individuals, are there certain events that you can attend to learn more about the field, to get more immersed into the industry or the position that you're looking for? Because oftentimes someone who is in the field can direct you to resources, whether it's a trade magazine. That's another way to get up to speed as it relates to a particular career. There's trade shows, trade magazines, and there are information sites that provide a wealth of information around careers and the like. The last thing that I would say is, if you have an interest in a particular job function, start searching on internships as early as possible, because oftentimes internships can lead into full-time positions.
Excellent. Thanks.
There's EMT, paramedic, and medical assistants. There's a shortage in New York City for all of those positions. So we have employers who are coming to us and asking us if we have a class that is finishing, so that they can come and recruit our students to apply to their company. So there is a very good chance that anyone who graduates from a LaGuardia program in those fields will get hired. There's no shortage of positions for EMTs, paramedics, and medical assistants in New York City. So it's really not a reach to say that your chances of getting hired with a certification in your hand, and you're looking for a job in any of those areas in New York City. For EMS positions, having a driver's license is critically important. So if you do not have one, you should be working on your way to getting one. And we have the contacts with all the employers, so we can help you get a job, and we can set up job interviews for you and help you with resume writing and all of that. We have all of those services, and I'm sure that that's true for the other programs as well. That there's plenty of services at the college to help you pursue your job search needs.
Thank you.
And also, as Paisley mentioned, we are living in a digital age. So there are so many initiatives and so many organizations that are helping, to start. Like if you just want to start a career as a web designer, web development, and software engineering, there are so many organizations now, especially for minority and also female in tech, that are available that you can start an entire course for free. So I can, provide some information and some resources that are available either through CUNY. CUNY has the organization and initiative that allows students to start into the CUNY startup, the Whitney Initiative, which is for women in technology. So there are so many initiatives that if you just new into the field and you're looking to know, like, how can I start? There's a lot of organization that will help you with, start you're on your feet on technology. Yes.
Great point. Thank you. So I want to thank all of our panelists once again. This has been I've learned a lot, I think, and hope that our students have as well. This is really valuable time that we've spent together learning from all of you. I want to open up the floor now to any additional questions from the students that we have here with us in the audience. We have about 15 minutes left. If you have a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask, or if you prefer, you can type it in the chat. I'll give everybody a minute to think.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
For Varvara, for the nursing. Varvara, do you recommend after the 2 years of the nursing program in LaGuardia to go to a 4 years college and I don't know, to study other 2 years for I think it was like the
Bachelor's degree.
Bachelor's degree? Do you recommend that?
Yes.
Like, because in my personal plan is like after the 2 years go to the Air Force. So I don't know if that's okay to take the other 2 years or not.
Oh, I see. So generally in nursing, you should get bachelor's degree hopefully sooner after the completion of the 2-year degree, just while everything is fresh in your mind, so you just move on. And it's only going to be 2 years because what you already completed is half of it. So when I completed associate's degree here, it was the hardest time ever because of the clinical rotations. The classes were very hard, but once I passed that, bachelor's degree, which was much easier. Especially now, there are a lot of options where you can have your bachelor's degree, the transitional associates to bachelor's degree, they call it RN to BSN often. It can be, you can get it online. CUNY SPS, where I'm getting my graduate degree, they offer online degrees. So you can be anywhere in America and you can complete majority of that part online. And then there will be only some classes that will have a clinical component. And that's something that you will need to work out with school. But this particular school is very flexible. So there are a lot of options. But if you do plan to work as a nurse, bachelor's degree is required within 5 or 6 years. And it also is one of the major considerations for getting hired. Right now is a little bit different situation. Right now, they just take you right after you graduated. But when I graduated, there was a job freeze. So they didn't hire really anybody. So bachelor's degree was one of the important components. Would they rather hire a bachelor's degree nurse, or would they rather hire an associate's degree nurse? And they would always go for bachelor's degree nurse. Well, experience too, but I'm talking about like once straight out of school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? I have another question that has come through in the chat from Lucia. Also for Varvara, it says, Varvara, I would like to be a nurse. What associate's degree could I do and could find a job? She says, I'm 45 years old and not very fluent in English right now. So I think the question is about if for somebody who's interested in a nursing type career, Are there job opportunities for a person right after they get an associate's degree? And if so, what type of associate's degree would it be?
Well, there is only one associate's degree. It's just associate's degree in nursing. There's no specialty. The specialty usually comes with graduate degree. So in master's, you can specialize. You can go into different areas. But again, when you get just that one nursing degree, associate's degree, you can work on different units. So if you like to work with children, you can apply for pediatric unit. You will be qualified just because you have your nursing license. So you don't need to have a special degree to work on a specific unit unless you want to work as an educator, or you want to be a nurse anesthetist, or if you want to do, you want to write prescription, you want to be a nurse practitioner. You can get it right here at LaGuardia. Being 45 years old is not a problem. It's a 2-year program. You do need to get certain classes before you start the clinical part of the program. So you need to get your English 101. So English composition class. You need general psychology class. You need to know anatomy and physiology. So you need to pass anatomy and physiology, and you need to know just the general chemistry. So it's foundations of chemistry. This is the class that's required. Once you pass these courses, or you take these courses and you get good grades, and then you can go for that. That's registered nursing. We also have licensed practical nursing. This program is a little bit less competitive, but pretty much same requirements: English, psychology, anatomy, physiology. Instead of chemistry, you will need to take medical dosages. And this particular program is 10 months. So if you get accepted to the clinical phase, you start in September and you're done by June. And then later, so this is something you can work anywhere pretty much in the healthcare field. So you can work in various healthcare facilities as a licensed practical nurse. And then if you would like to upgrade to a registered nursing, our program here at LaGuardia, we do offer bridge from LPN to RN program. I hope that answers your questions. If you have any questions, you can always, Erin, you can go ahead and give them my contact information, and I can elaborate more on how you can enter a nursing program, licensed practical nursing program, a registered nursing program.
Thank you so much. That's helpful.